Also, Jay, just before we start this, I want to tell you that I've been crushing fruit snacks and hot Cheez-Its like it's my job, and it's going really well. So with that said, in 3, 2, 1. All right, shut up. I'm going to break some hearts right now. And I feel dumb for not knowing it, and I just don't want everyone to be in the same boat. So let's just get out of the way. Hibernation is not what you think.
Can you imagine just going to sleep for like a season? Animals do that. Bears, I guess skunks.
You know, we're all taught growing up that these animals go to sleep for like the entire winter, and they just burrow into their little den and come out once it's time to eat in springtime. They don't go to sleep that long. And I don't know why it's taught that way. Why we all think that they're just sleeping for like 4 months. It's not that way. They're just slow. They move around. They go do stuff. Sometimes they even eat. Like, yeah, there's a weird metabolism thing going on, but sorry, guys. And what I mean by all that is it's time once again for the Disney Pod Classics. My name is Harrison, and with me as always, the beautiful, the esteemed, the regal, one might say, Jay. Jay, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Harrison. I actually didn't know about that hibernation thing. I kind of assumed it was like the TV show Gargoyles.
Did you ever watch Gargoyles as a kid, the TV show?
Where they have to find a hiding spot before the sun comes up because they're frozen in time and they don't want to get attacked. But I'm going to have to circle back on that because I almost don't believe you.
Do your research because I almost didn't believe me. I found out a while ago and I was like, I can't be right. And then I looked it up. It's like, yeah, you idiot. Why do you think that? Just before we get into it, you know, what we do here. This one's a big one for both me and Jay. What we do here at the Disney Pod Classics is we grew up watching Disney classic films. It shaped us, it molded us. So here we are, you know, 30 years old, looking back at, you know, a length of time that which filled by Disney, and decided, you know, let's take a walk back through memory lane. So we're watching these movies one by one in chronological order and just seeing how they hit now that we're, you know, losing our vision, losing our hair, losing our lives pretty soon. So with that, we have come all the way up to 1959. You know, it rocked the foundation of my friend Jay here. It rocked the foundation of the artistic world, Sleeping Beauty, or Sleepy Bee as it will be referred to medically in this podcast. So Jay, you know, this is like when you get picked for a solo in the choir in 5th grade. Like, this is your time. You're sweating bullets. You're about to step out and just belt. So
yeah.
How do you feel right now? Where are you at? Fear level, excitement level? Let's hear it all.
All of it. I also am expecting someone to give me roses at the end of this solo. So
my dad's in the crowd.
Out.
He's looking at you with the digital camera.
Exactly. Yeah. Sleeping Beauty is, other than Lion King, I would say it's the most influential Disney movie from the first time I saw it until now. Obviously a huge fan. This shirt also has the Gremlins on the back as well. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a nice touch.
Oh, we see that, Jay.
Thank you. Yeah,
nice,
I call my backside the Gremlins.
It's got Gremlin 1 and Gremlin 2, baby.
Yeah. And then I also have this like Oscar size Maleficent. It's decoration. It's not a toy, as it says on the bottom, but this lives next to my salt and pepper shaker because it is that essential in my everyday life.
Puts it with all your food, eh? It sits with you at the table. Gotta love it.
Yeah, exactly. So I've had to answer to many people like, what's the Maleficent thing, you know? So I'm just going to explain it in the podcast and then never answer it. I'm just going to send the link.
Yeah, just reference.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. As a kid, the first time I saw it, I was 6 years old. My sister was turning 16, and so that being a big age for this movie, like, her and all of her friends watched it, and I had never seen it before. It is still the scariest movie I've seen at any point, and that's a huge part about what we'll talk about today. Like, Maleficent is the scariest villain, and this is my version of Batman overcoming its fears.
You're in the Malef cave, just letting it surround you. The green fire is everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've come a long way, and I'm very proud of the progress I made. And every time I watch this movie, I'm afraid I'm going to slip. I'm like a recovering alcoholic.
Jay, if you had to tell us, when would you say is the last time you had a negative, or one might call nightmare, a negative dream about Maleficent? How old were you, would you say?
Yeah, this is the longest streak for
Oof.
sure. I would say probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Wow, that is
But
awesome.
I really thought about this estimate, so I'm not BSing this.
Yeah.
I would say I've had about 40 nightmares of Maleficent in my life. Most of them are between like, under 13 or 14, but I still had very memorable dreams in high school, college, and even after college as well.
Oh man.
But when I would have those, it was almost nostalgic because
hello, old friend.
I had overcome the fear. Like I actually, in these dreams, I like duked it out with Maleficent, and now we're on good terms.
Yeah, you embrace the darkness. You are the Malef man in a way.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and look at you wearing the outfit. You really have. It is a Bruce Wayne story if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, it's the easiest way to describe it.
Just without the money, but whatever. So did you like this movie this time around? Obviously, this was catastrophic for you as a child. How'd you feel about it this time?
Yeah, I love this movie. For the first 50 years of Disney, this is my favorite one.
That's a big claim. That's a huge
I was actually
claim.
reminded how little of character development there is in the majority of characters, and I still just don't give a shit.
Wow.
Like there is something so much more powerful artistically, the music, Maleficent, that it just carries all of the rest of the perfectly valid complaints on this movie. It's really weird. Like I couldn't argue Sleeping Beauty is the best movie, unlike other ones where like a Beauty and the Beast or Lion King, like we're gonna go into battle.
Yeah.
But this one I actually can't defend. I just love it though.
Well, and that's the magic of Disney. You can just kind of pick whatever one speaks to you. It speaks to your subconscious, and obviously this one has riddled yours, so it makes total sense to me.
Yeah. What about for you?
This
how many nightmares have you had of Maleficent?
I could say like I'm gonna like, just for like standard.
You better say one, dog. All right, don't make me look bad.
At least one. Also, I feel like I'm going to get calls from like your family about resurfacing all these memories by going through this with you.
This is half therapy.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm going to get.
I'm either going to get thanks or like a lawsuit slapped at me. So one way, bring it on. For me, this is just like Scary or Cinderella. And it always was. This was not one of the ones I had on VHS because my grandma vetoed this real quick. Executive order, absolutely not. Get it out, burn the books kind of thing. She's evil. She really likes to flaunt it, and we weren't going to have that.
Not your grandma. Let's make that distinction.
She's a damn tyrant. She's trying to keep this movie from me, and it didn't work, Sassy. I got you. Watching it now, it may have taken me 30 years, but shut up.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be my therapy session.
Why
did I Venmo you? Come on.
I need it, man. It was just one of those things where I didn't watch it a ton of times. When I did watch it, she was scary, but it just wasn't the kind of movie that called me back to it. Nothing really about this movie really struck me as, oh my gosh, this is your movie, Harrison. So I didn't have nearly the same impact. I definitely saw it. We all see it. The whole thing just kind of whooshed over me because it was kind of kept from me. Thanks, Grandma. As far as this time, it's tough to watch this one without a huge batch of nostalgia backing you because there's just a lot of holes here. There's a lot of, and it's mostly in characters. Like it's really a character problem. It's not, sound like my dad talking to me. It's not actually like a problem with the plot. It's a problem with your character, Harrison. And I just
I'm not mad.
I'm fine. Anyways, it's definitely, there's just not as much development as I would have guessed when I looked back. And so it's one of those things that we'll talk about it now. Again, don't take us too seriously, but let's see where we get to. Jay, what do you know about this movie? Let's usher ourselves into it.
I know way too much, so you're gonna have
that was
to,
a dumb question.
Yeah, you're gonna have to just keep me honest
too. Right.
So, and all of this did not have to do any research because this is just in my brain.
Walks around with you. Yeah.
So Tchaikovsky, I know we're both big fans, Nutcracker and Swan Lake and all that. Also did the Sleeping Beauty.
P.D. Chai.
All the music for the ballet back in 1800s, and
BC.
Walt used that original soundtrack or it's not a soundtrack, but whatever the hell it's called, score.
Yeah.
Yes, for this movie. So all of the music that you hear was taken from Tchaikovsky, and even Once Upon a Dream, like that song was taken from that. They just added lyrics.
Yeah.
So it's really cool how they kept that aspect, and I think the music is one of the strongest pillars of it that makes all the rest of the character stuff, it will never get knocked over, and that's one of the pillars.
I could definitely see it. It's one of the movies where there's not a lot of departures from the plot to like stop and do a song, as we'll see in the later years. I did kind of hear a little warped version of that. I heard that I heard, at the water cooler, people were talking Sleeping Beauty origin stories, and I was picking up eavesdropping on the fact that it used to be like a very old Frenchman's fairy tale. Walt picked it up, didn't like it, scrapped it, and then the brothers Grimm also did a version of it, and they kind of incorporated more of that. But Tchaikovsky wrote it for the original, and the original guy is the one who's given credit in the movie. But it's mostly like the Brothers Grimm story version. I guess there's a lot more about it that lines up with them. But somehow the movie and the music line up just perfectly fine. I mean, or at least maybe even artistically well. The one thing that I saw at the beginning of the movie that just I couldn't stop thinking about is that book and like where that thing is. You got any updates on that book?
Oh yeah, I do.
Do you actually? Oh
yeah, of course. So the book was made.
You mean this one, dude?
Yeah, exactly. So the book was made by the designer and like did all of like the touch and feel of the movie, which is part of the reason why it took so long. And we'll get into that in a moment. But it took so long to make was they went all out on making this film as beautiful as possible for that time. And they even included making that actual book that they used to film, and random days at Disneyland, they will still bring that book out.
Oh, wow.
But it has like real jewels and crap on the cover. It just, financially, this movie was not smart. Artistically, it's genius. I don't think that there's a higher watermark. So it's like a funny conundrum between the two. Realistically,
and I know it can't, I'm whatever. How much would you pay right now for that book?
I mean, even $1,000 sounds crazy. And obviously,
does it though? It's worth more.
It's way more valuable than that. I'm saying just for me to keep. I'm not talking investment wise. I don't think I would sell it.
Well, you could if you got into hard times, which would be a sad reason to get into hard times. But
I would pay a lot just to be able to have the book for a day. I'm just looking for like the Stanley Cup version of it. I don't need to have it for a lifetime.
A replica?
Yeah.
What are we talking? Like 500? For a day rental?
I would pay $1,000
for a day rental.
No. Oh, for a day rental, like 200.
You pay $3.
Probably. Yeah.
Let's move on. What else do you know about this movie, Jay?
Yeah, exactly. I'm already losing money. This is going well. Speaking of money, this movie did not do well financially at all.
I love that segue.
It was very successful revenue-wise, but it took 6 years to make the movie. Walt was really afraid that it was too similar to Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella, so he spent a lot of time on the artistic aspects of the movie, some of the scenes, and also the music piece. So it is literally the most money that Disney has ever spent on a movie, considering inflation. From this point, right after, they do a knee-jerk reaction and go very like copy and paste. They start using Xeroxing. So all the movies in the 60s, 70s, and 80s was in response of Sleeping Beauty financially not being successful.
Breaking them.
So it is such a stark difference between this and then the next movie's 101 Dalmatians 2 years later. And they do not look like the same company.
No, it doesn't.
And so this is like the turning point, getting out of the golden age that we have been going through the movies from Snow White until now. And then this is a clear breaking off point as we get into the 60s.
It is starkly different. Something I would never noticed until watching it now at my age. Like, and I've known this, you know, you hear about it or whatever around the water cooler. I work at a Disney office. No, I don't. I'm sorry. Don't sue me. I'm just kidding. The point is you watch this movie and you will notice like everything is just meticulously detailed. It looks like you could have any frame. And I think we've talked about this in college. Like you could have any frame of this movie and put it in a frame and it would look like an actual portrait. Like it's that kind of effort, and just did not work out. Like quality didn't actually beat out quantity, and they learned that after this year. And it, you know, sadly worked out for them, but at the same time, we're glad we have this relic of artisanal masterpiece.
Yeah.
But it's like at least they did it once. That's why this movie is so fantastic, is because we know exactly how artistic Disney could make this movie, and there's a world where they didn't do that.
No, for sure.
There's a world where they just spent too much money and they cut corners, and it just was like another Lady and the Tramp style.
Yeah. What's funny is I was chirping about the fact that this is like the most expensive Disney movie and whatever, and I looked it up, and like it is an adjusted for inflation thing. I think they spent like, correct me if I'm wrong, like $6 million or something to make it in production. And then I looked at like Bolt from like 2013 was like 270 mil. It was like, well, it's not technically the most, you know, they've actually dumped a lot more mils into a movie that's not as good, but still.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
It's just one of those things. Okay, Jay, you got anything else? Should we move on to the chapters?
The last thing is just, it's the last fairy tale until Little Mermaid.
R.I.P. Yeah.
So 30 years go by, and we are about to enter the lowest period of Disney movies for me. And this is
Spoiler alert,
the
man.
bookend of that. And it doesn't come back until Little Mermaid. And I think it's very clear that Disney should make fairy tale stories. It's obviously, both those movies worked well long term.
Okay, before we get into the chapter, I do want to, we have a word from, it's not actually our sponsor this time, it's a reverse sponsor. It's something you get it. It's the websites that give you an article and then only let you read like 30 seconds of it before they make you sign up for either an email newsletter or a account or like some kind of a subscription. And you read enough of it to where you want to continue to read, but then you literally can't get by it. And you can try and refresh the page and look at it again, and you just never get through it. It's not worth it. I just want to let you guys know, I back out and I don't finish that article every single time. You've never gotten me and you never will. And I just want to say that out there to our reverse sponsor, those kind of websites. Jay, do you have anything to add to that?
I've never spent money on those articles either. So there's just a lot of content out there.
New York Times, no one cares that much about what Meghan Markle said about Bitcoin last week or some shit like that. Like, I don't want you to try and bait and switch me like this anymore. So thanks for not sponsoring the podcast. All right, Jay, with that, go ahead and hit us off into chapter 1.
Yeah, so chapter 1, you have the famous birth scene. The whole community gets together. You get introduced to the 3 fairies.
That just sounds so like PE and health, like grade 8. The birth video, and then
King Stephen with a handheld.
Yeah, it's a girl.
We can't show this. I'm not sure if I'm ready to be a dad, actually. We should really think of some way for me to dish that out.
Back, like, I gotta marry that. Oh.
You get introduced to the 3 fairies, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. And then, of course, Maleficent shows up, and she gives the evil spell that when Aurora is 16, that she's before she's 16, that she's going to prick her finger and die. And then the fairies come up with a plan. They take the baby to the cottage. You fast forward 15 years or so, and Aurora or Briar Rose at that point is an adult. And then you zoom to Maleficent discussing with the goons that they can't find the baby anymore. So
a baby.
We'll pause there. But the first question is, if you're living in this town, it's in the 14th century, as they mentioned. If you're living in this town, would you have attended
Oh my God.
this ceremony?
No. And I have that written down too. Like, can you
Wow.
imagine being like a part of this town? Let's say you're a butcher or you're a baker or you just like have horses or something. They're like, oh, did you hear they're going to ride through the streets and we're all supposed to go and cheer for them. And like, if you could bring a flag, that'd be good too. And it's like, they're not going to notice if I'm not there. I'm not going to go. And then your mom's like,
Oh, you're going. That is our princess, and you are going to chear her on as she,
it's like, fuck no, I would not go to that thing, dude. I made a living off of not going to stuff like that. So would you have gone?
The only thing,
I mean, if you could get like standing room seats in the castle, like on the floor next to the red
Yeah.
carpet, like you bring
talk
your
to
little
scalpers
umbrella.
outside. You're only having one kid. Trust
Pure
me.
view of the cradle. Pure view of the cradle.
Yeah. It's just, what else are you going to be doing?
That's so
That's
true.
what I
Like,
kept coming back to. Like, there's not like any big events. Like there's
dying of like
Justine
whooping cough or
and
something.
this.
Yeah, it's like
Like the-
bubonic plague or go visit the princess. That's the two
Yeah,
options you got.
I'm not sure what else I would do, but I also don't think it would be that exciting. You got to consider the times though. And you're wearing
yeah.
like one of those potato sacks for clothes, and
I
you're
was thinking
you're
this
probably
too,
just gonna
Jay.
roll.
You probably are. You probably like drink some mead and head out there, see if you can get on top of a roof and throw something at one of the horse guys. Oh, remember when he chased us or whatever? If
Yeah.
you're like 16 and with a wooden sword. I don't know. I noticed the exact same thing. Like, what an event that's not an event anymore. Like, just I guess people still do that. If you think
Yeah.
about it, people still, like,
There's still royalty.
look at people who pass by because they're passing by. Like the Pope. You ever seen like one of those big meetings?
Yeah.
I shouldn't knock it because this shit still goes on. But
Dude,
I've
for-
not gone to that.
Yeah, for a lot less. Like
Yeah.
you could have like Christina Aguilera coming out of a town, and like everyone would
Oh,
still
man.
go there just to watch her get into a car.
Which is
Like, this-
which is not
this-
a shot at Christina Aguilera. We know you're
No.
probably watching. Huge fan of the show. Thank you, Christina Aguilera. But we would come see you. We would. Come
Yeah.
see you. If you want to come join us, you're allowed to. But yeah, you're so right. It is. I don't know why we're dogging on
Humans
people.
would still do it, is the point. I don't think
Mhm.
I would be that interested though.
I don't either. Moving into the castle, assuming you got standing room seats and you see these 3 good fairies
Mhm.
and the gifts that they bestow. My question to you essentially is, let's say you and I are the fairies. What are we bestowing upon a baby in this situation? And let's run through what they've got so far. The first one was beauty. And I think that that's actually helpful in life. You know what? We can all admit it. Jay, you're a beautiful man and you're treated like it, and I watch it and it's sickening. But it's a gift, and it's not something that anyone can take away from you. The second gift is song, the gift of song. I don't have that gift in life and I'm doing fine. Maybe it'd be nice to have, but I don't know if it's the most like important one. What would you give to the princess?
Well, first of all, there's not a whole lot of like women's rights or anything. Like she's pretty much just gonna
give
be a
her-
mom,
you just give her
or
a career.
like a princess.
I
So
give
it's
you
like
the gift of a profession.
yeah, like the beauty or song. It's like
Those are useful then, I guess.
yeah, it makes sense. I understand the song piece. You're putting the kids to bed, and she should have a solo career, but
Mm.
times are a little different. She should
Hard
be
to
the Taylor
market.
Swift of that generation, actually.
Nice. Taylor
But
Swift.
if I had to think of something else, what about thoughtfulness?
That's a good one.
Like
That's a good one.
understanding that there's other community members and you don't have like a French Revolution
Yeah,
situation
let them
in
eat
place.
cake kind of
Yeah,
situation.
the exact opposite of let them eat cake.
Yeah, so
That
so
would
my
be the-
gift, just
yeah.
piggybacking off of what I just said, my gift would be intelligence. I think I would give her the knowledge to not have to be the way that she ends up turning out in this movie, kind of, which is just lacking experience. She's going to have a pretty one-track life. Give her some intelligence, make her useful to herself and to others in that way. Or social graces was the other one I came up with. Like having some royalty that's beautiful and can sing, it's got pipes, it's got gremlins. She at least could be nice to everyone else. And that would be a nice gift to kind of round her out.
Yeah.
Instead, well, what happens, Jay? Malef comes in, throws down a huge curse. how do you like? This is where the fairies start to fall off for me.
Which is like 3 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, about 3 minutes in, that 3-minute mark, you watch the fairy be like, okay, I see your complicated, finger prick on a spindle. Let me raise you and say, if she can fall in love, like the most complicated addition clause to this contract, where there are so many other straightforward roundabout ways where it's like, I give you the gift of not pricking your finger on that spindle. Like there's a lot of ways to do this. And this is where the fairies start to just take that kind of plunge off the cliff for me. What was your thoughts on that on the fairies in general? Like at this stage, like they're supposed to be comic relief. They're supposed to be endearing. I just found them to be frustrating at times.
Yeah. It's a little like the Alice in Wonderland thing that we talked about. Like you just can't get too caught up in the fairy thing because it will drive you nuts. They certainly don't make good decisions. We also should say back in 2014, we went and saw Maleficent.
Oh, hell yeah.
As opening day as possible in Eugene, Oregon, because we wanted to do a midnight showing, but they didn't have one because there wasn't enough demand.
Because it's Eugene, and
so we went like at 1 p.m. the next day, and in that movie, they do a really good job of just highlighting how dumb these fairies are. And I feel like any of the movies that get a live action piece where they make a change, it's because it's highlighting that in the original story it wasn't the most thought out of characters, or like highlighting how dumb they are, like just stupid, frankly, in the Maleficent one. So this is actually like the best version of them, which is very sad.
I think this is a big scene, obviously, for your lady Malef. I mean, there's a couple things to note when she comes in. Firstly, would this whole thing have been avoided if the queen had not had her one line and been like, "Are you sure you're not mad?" And then she's like, "Well, actually." But my favorite part was the time where she
like
does
the Michael Jordan, like I took it personal.
Yeah, she took it very personally. My favorite part on top of that was when King Stefan goes, "Seize that creature." And you just imagine being a guard. You just watch Maleficent come in with a big ball of green fire, put a magical curse on someone 16 years down the future. You've got your like 3 days of training and your like one blacksmith's pike that you've got. And he's just like, "Go grab her." And I would just be like, "Absolutely not. I'm not going to do that." Because then she just like revolts into her little icon, her branding.
Yeah.
No shot am I even taking a step. I'm just immediately putting it down. I don't need this job. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That is not what I'm catching.
You just resign.
Yeah.
It's like, damn it, it was gonna be my day off, and I decided to come. And
I had
they don't have
seats.
a chance.
No way.
That would be really intimidating. The Maleficent mystique that's just laid down in this first scene carries throughout the whole movie. Like, she could always be there. The fairies say like, "Oh, even walls have ears." That is the scary part about her, is she could always be looming around, and she's just so much bigger than any soldier or anything like that. She's just such a force and the mistress of all evil.
Yeah, I agree. The last thing I wanted to bring up, besides the fact that she also kind of matches Michael Jordan in the color of her eyes, they both got that kind of jaundice thing.
Oh yeah, there's more Michael Jordan
yellow
references coming.
She's the GOAT, dude. No, but back to the fairies. This one's kind of personally for you, Jay, and I just can't help it but bring it up. When the fairies decide to concoct a plan, to me, it will always just look like kind of drug addicts just getting together. Getting together and just getting into like, "Okay, let's get in the cabbage. Okay, I know what we'll do. Okay, I'll turn into a flower. Oh, but the king and queen won't like it. No, here's what we do: a cottage, and yes, and no wands." And it's just like the most like frantic, not problem solving thing. And all I could think about was our neighbors in college, who all three of them lived with like essentially, how would you describe it? Like a disabled
They
woman?
were all meth heads.
Yeah, I don't know how to put it in a
Actual meth
nicer
heads
way.
that we lived
We don't
near.
condone or, not sympathize with drug addiction, but this was a really grand display of it. I remember having a room and they would just go out there. Remember they'd start that truck up at like 3
The weirdest schedule.
just
And
rev
then
the truck
actually-
in the driveway all night long for the entire like
I haven't thought about that so long. Yeah,
like what are they doing? They just be digging a hole at like 3
Yeah.
in the morning in their backyard
Dude.
just for no reason.
we were the King Stefan
Yeah.
of this story, though. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure those fairies were doing weird shit even before the birth of Aurora. Like, oh God, they're watering the plants again at 4 a.m.
How did the queen and king approve this plan to take her to a cottage? Like, this has to go through some red tape, and somehow it does. So then this is where my mind starts being like, are we for real here? Like, is this really what's
No.
going on?
I don't think they're good parents. Like,
Parents, but truthfully, they are bad parents. Like, and
yeah,
one might
yeah,
even
they
call
are.
them not parents.
Yeah, they are essentially are not parents. And then, spoiler alert, they get married and run off. And it's like, I don't actually,
Know
they
who
spent
this
a
is.
day with their kid,
Not even.
and now they're going to be visiting them like aunts and uncles.
Oh yeah, it's a terrible thing.
It's weird.
I've got an overarching question for you.
Yeah,
that
I
think
got
we'll
a
discuss.
question for you to wrap up chapter 1.
Oh wow, hit it.
Okay, so either newspaper, like some internet clickbait, or TMZ, what would be the headline the next day in the kingdom?
Oh my gosh. It would be clickbait, bottom of an article, probably from Business Week, where you had to make a fucking subscription to get in it. And it would say, Maleficent showed up at the court hearing for the princess. You won't believe what she said to the king. And it'll be pictures of her over the cradle with like the fire and stuff.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, damn it, I do kind of want to know. What did
I
she
should have
say?
gone. Damn it.
What would you think?
I like the TMZ one is like the mistress of all evil. She's back.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Or the clickbait one is burn your spindle wheels now. Here's why.
if you're in Kingdom zip code 97324, you're
Yeah.
gonna need to burn your spindle. You could get a $75 rebate. Here's how.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the new spindle law that lawmakers don't want you to know.
Yes, exactly.
This new spindle makes blacksmiths go crazy. Or something like that. I love it. That's a really good question. Okay, chapter 2. We start with, Aurora is now, or Briar Rose, however you want to call it, young BR. She's 16, which is just
She didn't quite make it. She's
oh, yeah,
almost.
she's 15, which is just the way that these movies go. She's out and about, the fairies are in the cottage. They've been living there for 15 years. Haven't really gained any, acumen as to how to do it. But she goes out to pick some berries. It's her birthday. It's all very exciting. She starts singing. The Prince Philip is galloping through the forest and meets her. They have an exchange, which we'll talk too much about in a bit. She gets back. She's walking on clouds. She's just met the love of her life. It's her birthday. The fairies have all been trying to, make a big surprise for her. They reveal it. You pan over to the castle. They're all stoked. But then Philip comes back after this meeting with the peasant girl, picks his dad up, tells him no chance. I'm not marrying this, my betrothed, and bails, just kind of dropped off some bad news. And then the whole process of that birthday night, the fairies transporting Aurora to the castle for the big reveal, which I will say is a little early. I mean, like, way to celebrate before the 3 goes in the bucket, but that's where that chapter kind of ends. They're headed to the castle. They're, waiting for the big reveal after her birthday, after sunset. So let's just get to the question that I think we need to, because, young Leo, my mother, they're all hanging on a thread to figure out what we're about to talk about here. Maleficent essentially ruins this baby for the kingdom, regardless of how this worked out, because she was literally raised by these crackheads in the forest. The parents never knew their daughter, and now they never will, really.
Yeah.
So regardless of what happens, doesn't Maleficent kind of win?
Yeah. She is just so far above everyone in this story that like even when she loses, she wins.
Yeah.
It's like the Tony Montana quote. But she completely changed everything about it. I'm not going to bring up historical references, but like there are some things that occur throughout human history where it's like it's still just impacted things way too much.
Let's leave it there.
Yeah,
And
I can't go down this.
moving
this
on,
rabbit hole.
moving on to the forest meeting. God, there's so much. Aurora, she's batshit crazy. And it's not even her fault. She has been raised and never met a person, potentially. Has she never met anybody else besides Philip in this forest?
That's what it's assumed, yeah.
So it's not really her fault, but she's even got that kind of
I fooled them. I met someone in my dreams.
to these animals and like who knows what's even really happening.
Yeah.
Then there's the whole quote, if they say if you dream a thing more than once, it's bound to come true. And I was thinking, not in Jay's world, thankfully, because I'm sure he was thankful that's not true.
Well, that exact quote I wrote down as well. Like that quote haunted me as a kid.
God. Yeah.
Because as a kid, like I took that really literal, that like,
What about 40 times?
Aurora. But more than that, if I would rather have no dreams come true, like literal dreams that you have.
Yeah.
Think about your best dreams and your worst dreams. All my worst ones consisted of Maleficent.
Yeah.
I would rather not have any of those come true than all of them come true.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
anytime I was like, oh, like a dream is a wish your heart makes, and all that crap.
No.
Disney,
Dude,
it's
my
like
life would be over in so many different ways.
Oh,
Literally
dude, the
and
nightmares are so
figuratively.
much worse. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I've always taken it so literal, and
Oh, yeah.
Aurora says it like as I'm panicked, remembering the exact minute markers of when Maleficent comes, and still to this day when I
with your
watch,
notepad, like
okay, I have like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Kind of need a prep for that scene. Okay, I'm through that one. Here's the next one. That is still how I watch this movie, by the way.
She's kind of beautiful in her own way, Maleficent. She's like not an ugly villain.
This is the easiest way I could describe it.
Oh, God.
If all the Disney villains were in the same room together, you didn't know any context or background, okay? You would pick her out and be like, there's some like, who is that? Like, there's something more
Who's
more
that
to her.
lady?
Yeah, exactly.
Who's that girl?
Perfect. But it really, there's something about her where there's some staying power, and there's a reason why for the first live action of like an origin story villain that they chose Maleficent.
Boy,
Like that is the ultimate compliment. They essentially looked at this room and said, we could pick any villain to do more of a deep dive on. And there's just something like so scary. She's sarcastic and stunning, like all at the same time. It's a really weird, uncomfortable creature.
Yeah, sounds like my future
weird.
ex-wife.
Nice one.
Yeah, exactly.
Scary.
Point her out.
Yeah, scary, sarcastic, and stunning. Okay, so back to the forest. Your thoughts on the meeting? I mean, there's this whole trend we're seeing. We saw it with Snow White, where guys just think it's okay to jump into the middle of a song. There's also a thought where it's okay to just sing to animals, which I imagine seeing that in a park. I don't know how I'd feel about it. It's a conversation starter for sure. I just think of Philip going in there. He's got a smooth one-liner. He goes, he's like, oh, but we have met before. And she's like, what? He's like, you said it yourself, once upon a dream. And then I just imagine that moment where he's like,
Okay, I'm about to sing. I heard her song once. I'm going to get this right. I know.
like, just like, you've already kind of nailed it with the like
And the one,
mysterious
and the two, and
I just think that takes some serious balls. And that guy's
Gibson,
damn
give me a
hero. Owl guy, where's on the drums?
All right.
I don't know. I just feel like Philip shows some stripes here. That's smooth as hell. It's also really creepy. A lot of touching that shouldn't happen. I remember multiple times in this movie being like, haha, not in today's day and age, Philippe. We'll see. But Aurora's reaction is really what I want to get into here. It's a Disney classic for them to fall in love quite quickly. I'm not mad about it. You know, these things happen. But it's the conversation that happens once they actually get down to brass tacks. He says, you know, they sing the song, it's beautiful. They're on the branch, and he goes, "Who are you? Oh, what's your name?" And she goes, "My name. Oh, and just a spoiler alert, this is my favorite scene of the entire movie, my favorite quote of the entire movie. I'm not gonna pretend. This is the greatest moment of this movie. I will die on that fact. Mark it on my tombstone." I'm gonna read you the exchange.
We'll do it on the back of the tombstone. It's like quite a bit of writing.
Yeah.
Like, who even died here? This is just some random rant about Sleeping Beauty.
She goes, "My name. Oh, I can't. Goodbye." And he goes, "But when will I see you again?" And she goes, "Oh, never, never." And he goes, "Never." She goes, "Well, maybe someday." He goes, "When? Tomorrow?" And she goes, "Oh no, this evening at the cottage in the Glen." And I just think that play-by-play is the greatest moment potentially that we've gotten to this far in Disney. Like, that goes from, "Oh my God, I can't do this. I'm never going to see you again." And he goes, "Are you serious?" And she goes, "Actually, actually, maybe I will." And he goes, like tomorrow?" And she goes, "No, that's crazy. How about this evening?" Like, I know she's never made plans with another human being before. I get this is her first go, and I get she doesn't get how the negotiation system works, but that is chef's kiss of any Disney exchange between a, you know, romantic pairing in my life. That's all I'll say about it. Jay, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it is hilarious. It's so bizarre.
When? Tomorrow?
No, there is one thing about the characters,
Oh.
like Aurora, because she's never interacted with a human, that could actually happen. You know, there is something, as weird as that is, it's better than her being like really smooth,
Yeah, that's
talking
true.
to Prince Philip and being like normal.
Yeah, she could be panicking. That's a real thing.
Yeah, this is the only time they communicate with each other in the whole movie.
Mm,
And that's how it ends.
that is so true.
Isn't that weird?
And
This
that's
is
what
the
it's
only
all
scene where
built
they're
upon.
together until technically the end.
Oh my God, you're so right. I can't imagine we can go much farther. Like, there is a beautiful song shared in this scene, and it does obviously create the love that, you know, ends up going through the end of the movie. I'm sure there's no way we're getting past this without, you know, a little segment that I'm craving myself.
No,
What?
no, it's not this. It's not this.
You're
We're gonna
kidding
keep
me,
going.
dude.
No,
I can't do it.
We'll get to it soon.
There's one song in this whole movie.
I know. I didn't choose it.
All right. Well, the other thing that I will say, because this does go into the birthday, you know, cake scene and whatever. I remember talking about it in Peter Pan, but when Malef turns to this crow and tells him to go out and find something that a horde has been searching for 16 years, and you just get that one scene of him flying over, just kind of like looking through the trees. I just imagine that's the most hopeless feeling of your whole life. Like, it's Maleficent you're going to go back to, and you're just like,
Yeah, they've been trying for a really long time. I hope I see something very, very obvious.
and then of course the wand's, you know, backfiring. So
Yeah. Well, and in that conversation, it's very clear that Maleficent is a terrible project manager / manager in general. Like, the goons trying, like, for them to keep looking for a
Goons.
cradle for 15 years.
she's
Like,
not
think about
following
15
up.
years up in that castle. There's not that much to talk about. So to have it be on the very last day when Maleficent's like, "Oh my God, you guys have been looking for the wrong thing." That is actually on Maleficent. That's
Yeah,
not
I
on the
do think so,
goons.
too.
And this was the first time I watched it where I was like, no, that is your fault.
You gotta
actually.
check in. You have to
And then-
check in.
then
Progress
the other thing-
reports.
If your trusted pet, you never sent Diablo to go on this search in 15 years. Like, what else are you doing?
Taxes, dude.
That property, the Forbidden
Yeah.
Mountain, there's a lot
There's
of
a lot of
write-offs happening.
write-offs. I was gonna say
A
the
lot
same
of
thing.
loopholes.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
and
the
she's
crow
finding
just
them.
like has a tie with a little typewriter.
his abacus at the front of his
Yeah.
desk.
Yeah, no, the only reason that I that I believe it just because of how powerful Maleficent is. I just think she baited them to wait the entire time and have that anxiety and like get them excited, have the kingdom celebrate, and then kill her literally with like a minute to spare.
Oh yeah, the
Like
buzzer
that's the
beater.
worst
Another
suffering that you can
MJ.
provide
Yeah.
to the 16, you know? It's like
Yeah.
it would be less painful if she just killed the baby day one or
Well, it's
something.
also so frustrating to watch them open up the window of opportunity like the night of. Like, why would you not transport
so
her till the
dumb.
first day of her 16th birthday?
Yeah, why
Or,
not
like,
wait?
Why are you doing it like
Let's just see, like 5
Yeah.
hours. That's not enough time, right?
like she
Yeah.
didn't just teleport into the castle last time we saw her?
Dude, especially at our age, I don't know if you feel this, but like the actual date of like how important something is, it's like just celebrate it the next day.
Oh,
or
yeah,
whatever. You know,
dude.
like a birthday or something. Like
I
who
straight
gives
up-
a shit.
Dude,
Like
I straight up
I'm fine
forgot
doing
my
it the day.
age.
Yeah.
I literally said the wrong age for a full year last year. This is the second year I've been 28 because I introduced myself as 28 for an entire year. I don't
Yeah,
even
sure,
think about the
sure.
day that it happens.
Yeah.
Legitimately, it is not a big deal.
Yeah.
And they just have to make her sweet 16 of a girl you've literally never
Yeah,
met
this
before.
is not getting into what was it, MTV that did that show? This is a bad Sweet 16.
Oh yeah. Oh, she
Bad
didn't get
version.
a car, no Range Rover.
No.
I know. Just
Yeah,
wait for
which
that
is
stuff.
crazy. God, that's a whole nother topic. I can't believe all that crap would happen to a 16-year-old. And then when the fairies just like operating in their normal lives without wands, one,
No
to
skills.
not be able
total.
to cook or do any of the household things without wands for 15 years. And it's like the day of they decide to use their wands. It's like, what the hell were you doing for 16 years to not have that be the case?
Dude, they were getting their fix, man. That's all they could think of. They were just living from
God,
hit to hit.
But to not even be able to cook or anything,
I know,
like they
it's
don't have
so
Uber
bad.
Eats or some crap like that. So what are they doing for 16 years? But then on top of that, they didn't disguise themselves at all.
Oh no.
Maleficent sees those three. It's like, yeah, you guys are the fairies. You just don't have wings, you
Like,
idiot.
just turned up into a different, dress, and now we're good. Like it's if I put
Yeah.
on a different shirt, it was like Jay will never recognize.
It's
me.
like Batman. It's like the Dark Knight Batman dressing up as like the old Adam West Batman and be like, oh, I'm good now. Like in the blue and yellow.
no
It's
one
like,
will know.
yeah, exactly. It's like, no, you idiot. All your logos and everything are there. The scene where the ticker really starts for me is when they start going back to the castle.
You're talking about your heart? Is that
Oh.
ticker?
Yes. Yeah, my heart.
Yeah.
Like when they start walking back, and it's so beautiful, that scene where
That
it's
is
just like the
nice.
colors of the fairies
Them
and
going
she
over
has
the
the hood on.
bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just walking back and it's just playing kind of that like creepy music, but it's just like an intro to the creepy part, and that's
Oh,
why
yeah, you have
it's
no
just
idea what you're getting
associated
into.
with it. So yeah, she goes back and then the whole fireplace scene happens and she goes through that. I always find it fascinating that the fairies realize that Maleficent is there because they hear her music
Do you think
from
that's
the other
it?
room.
Do you think that's what it is? I was wondering the same thing. Like they said, oh, listen, Maleficent. And I was like, is it the music that we're hearing? Is that what they're
Yes.
hearing too?
Yeah,
So you
It
probably
must be,
feared
because they're
probably
like, yeah,
worried.
listen, it's Maleficent. So like she actually has a theme song
Oh,
where
yeah.
she goes around, which is so awesome.
It's like as if Jaws, you could hear that. dun-dun-dun.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you listen? It's Jaws. Like,
Yeah.
did you ever feel comforted by the fact that you didn't hear her music when you were worried she might be around your house as a child?
Dude, I'm not exaggerating. Like it's one of those things like don't think about the elephant and you're thinking about the elephant. I would think of that song a lot. And I had like a green nightlight as a kid. I don't know why my parents did this, but like
That's
it was
messed
like
up.
a green Maleficent light in my bedroom growing up.
Harrison's mom, young Leo, quick PSA announcement. Don't ever let Harrison know your deepest, darkest fears. I received a mysterious package from Harrison, and wouldn't you know, it happened to be the green nightlight that I told him in confidence was so scary.
That's
It was
messed
like
up.
a green Maleficent light.
I grew up in my childhood bedroom with this green light. My parents made me think it was the standard. It clearly was not. and it just triggered every Maleficent fear that I had, leading directly into those nightmares. And now it's in my home, in my bedroom where my wife sleeps, where my children come and play with their toys.
And
Like
I
an
was so
alarm clock.
scared
It's
of
like,
her.
"Ooh."
Yeah. And it's just such a haunting song. And
Oh
it
yeah.
still stays with me so much. And when there's the scene in the fireplace, I can't see a fireplace still to this day without thinking of Maleficent.
As it should be.
I'm comfortable, but I still
promise.
I still see a fireplace and think Maleficent. Like, and that's not gonna leave
She
me
deserves
for
that.
as long as I live.
She deserves that, I think.
It is the scariest scene in any Disney movie.
Whoa. My grandma, I did talk to her recently, and she said she had a problem with Disney. This really surprised me. She had a problem with Disney growing up when we were growing up, because she thought that every single movie had some part of it that was really engineered to just put fear into children. And this is one of those, and I was like thinking about it, I was like, yeah, like it elicits a huge response. This is one of those ones where, like, here you are ruined as a 29-year-old man. Like they mission accomplished, Walt. You got it.
I remember watching this. I was like 11 or 12 years old. We had a bunch of people over, and there were like some younger kids, maybe like 6, 7, 8 years old, and someone just threw on a Disney movie. Like we had,
Casual.
all of them, and it was like, oh, like trying to like play it cool, because there's younger kids in the room that are fine with this.
That aren't crying.
And seriously, in the Sleeping Beauty scene, that initial scene happens, and it was like, whoa, like I'm not really sure about this, and I just kept my mouth shut and tried not to watch it. But the fireplace scene happened, and the parents shut it off. Like the kids were getting too scared of this scene. Yeah, it's think about from a parent point of view. Like the last thing you want to deal with is a scared kid. Like Maleficent caused more harm for my parents than me, because I couldn't sleep and I would have all this anxiety and keep them up as well when I would have those nightmares.
That is brutal. Such a good point.
But
it really does. It does an effective job of ruining parents' lives. And
yeah,
that's what the story is all about, if you really think.
Exactly. But this is
Maleficent
the point.
Ruining parents' lives.
Yeah, exactly. This is the point, though, when we would have that section of
it's not even. My God, what a flip of a script for me.
Yep.
Well, why don't you hit us off with that scene that I've been craving, that sweet, sweet music time with Jay. I would love to hear some of the thoughts Jay's got on some of these songs in the modern world.
So yeah, I'll do my rendition of Maleficent.
It's the Maleficent song.
Yes.
Dude, I thought for sure it was going to be Once Upon a Dream.
I know. Because it's the only lyric. I get it. This is a weird one.
Oh,
but
you really...
Now, you could have this be for like any scary thing, essentially. Like I've gone through the list. You could have it be for whatever the case might be. And it's going to freak the hell out of you. Yeah, it could be like the Jaws theme. It could be the like Saw theme from those movies. You could incorporate this into anything. My version of it, and I really would like to see this happen, very football specific reference. I would love to see like a defense that's really intimidating, okay? And they're playing at home. Anytime like on first down after, they get a couple yards or whatever, but like the defense has the better play, to have the first part be like it played in the stadium like and then that's it. And then second down happens and like defense crushes him again. It's like and then on third down, like leading up to the snap of the ball.
Oh my God,
that's scare the
so
shit
good.
out of any offensive player or like any competition for the rest of my life. If you ever wanted to throw me off my game, it's like just play that and I would completely play terrible from that point.
Oh my God, that's so good. I love that. Might be my favorite one you've ever done so far. That one really got into my head. I also thought you were kind of going into like a walkout. I was imagining you as a boxer If you had
Oh.
like all the lights in the stadium go down and then
Yeah.
like a green light behind your tunnel, and then you come out just like a flash, and you got the horse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, I'm still scared. Still scared. Trying to fight through
It's the
it.
fear that binds me.
Crying?
go.
Why hasn't even started? Is he crying?
Yeah, that's amazing. That is a really good one. I love it. Finish us off into chapter 3. Let's go there.
Aurora's put to sleep. The fairies decide everyone else should go to sleep. Prince Philip rolls up on the cottage thinking that there's a date, and it is not. He's met by a bunch of gremlins, and they tie him up, take him to the Forbidden Mountain. The fairies go to rescue him, and then Prince Philip escapes very dramatically and fights off Maleficent as the dragon, wins, and then wakes up Aurora, and they literally dance in the clouds to end the movie. Now, I would like to know, this is the first time of how many times I've watched this movie. I'm really curious what your answer is, but how do you think those gremlins and Maleficent got Prince Philip back to the Forbidden Mountain?
Well, how did she get them there? Like, does she help them? I reckon she foofs everyone around. Like, she's got a lot of
You
power.
think?
I do.
You don't
There's
think it's
no
like
other way
the
they're, like-
manual, like walking them up the stairs?
They've
all
got
the
him on the
way?
stick or something. He should- Maybe that. Like Peter Pan, you know.
Or like, I'm just as interested. Like, yeah, she could do the swoop thing. We
she's
haven't
probably like,
seen.
I'll meet you guys there.
Yeah, we haven't seen her do that with anything. Or if she has like some like space shuttle or like green train to take her back or
What?
whatever. What I'm saying, like, what there's got to be some way for her to bring the gremlins with her. And yes, the easy answer could be
Magic. Or
There's
you know,
no way
whatever.
she's like traveling with them though. Like she's the manager that
she's first
didn't
class.
check in.
Like, there's no way. She's got
Yeah.
a private jet.
They're walking, I think.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
think they walk
With
with
Prince
him.
Philip.
And he's so much bigger than them that unless they
Yes.
like knock him out and drag him, there's just no way.
I would watch like a
That's a
10-minute
great
scene
point.
of them trying to get up like 5 steps and just constantly like going back steps.
Yeah. I will say though, there is that little dance around the fire, and there was a part of me that's like, it might not have been that bad to be a gremlin for Maleficent. Like they seem like they have a good time. There's the couple guys that are patrolling, but it's a scary scene. But if you imagine being one of them,
Yeah.
like, dude, it's like y'all killed it. Now have like a bond. Yeah.
That gremlin right there is
Yeah.
hilarious. I was like watching him with
He
the big
reminds
eyes.
me of the Great Mouse Detective.
Oh yeah, the bat.
Yeah, the bat.
Yeah.
It's like as if it's his head. To me.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Speaking of Philip, like, well, I will say with that scene specifically, I want to go into a little bit of just kind of exalting Philip's heroism here in his little section I'll call Harrison's Heroes.
Heroinism.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we're not talking about the fairies. Prince Philip there's a couple good things about him that I never really noticed when I was, younger watching this. First off, he's got that, like, as I have referred to it before and will always refer to it before or again, that pick up your dad and tell him no confidence. And that's something that not all of us have, where he just goes there and says, hey, you know that dream you've had for 15 years about what I was going to do? It's not going to happen. And just tells him and then just bails and like confuses his dad, gets the hell out of there. That's amazing. Secondly, he actually is pretty stoic through this whole situation and like pretty one mind focused. He's an independent cat. And I will say, watching him get his ass beat by these gremlins made me doubt how many I could take. Because if you had asked me before that scene, how many of those you think you could take at once? I'd be like, dude, at least 12 to 15. They're small. They're like non-athletic. I got those. But then you really see, it's like the same experience as watching The Revenant and seeing what a real bear mauling looks like. Because up until that point, I was like, I might be able to fight off a bear. And then I watched that scene. I don't know. I was like, people get away from it. I was like, I watched that scene. I was like, oh, I have literally no chance. I'd be dead before dessert.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a little Emperor's New Groove reference. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
So yeah, I just want to say Philip in this, I mean, he ends up taking down the monster, a little help from the fairies, but you know, the composure into the in the dungeon when she's telling him his future is tough and he nails it. He's like 18. I did not have that kind of those cojones.
Oh.
I didn't have those gremlins when I was 18. Let's put it that way. And yeah, I just think he's a hero in a way that I never really realized before, and I want to give him a little shout out.
Yeah,
To you, Philip.
I appreciate that as well. I mean, other than Simba, he's probably my favorite hero, like growing up. And yeah, he's more bland than like other ones, but for this movie world that he's in, he has a great personality. You know, there's not like a lot of personalities out there. So like the interaction that he has with his dad, just his confidence as well, escaping the castle,
Yeah.
and everything that goes down. And I actually, right after I watched this movie for the first time when I was 6, I was Prince Philip that next
Oh,
Halloween,
hell
like
yeah.
5 months later. Like I was a Prince Philip nut, as weird as that is.
Pretty weird.
And yeah, it is. And I had a sword and shield from
Shield of
this
Truth or
from this
whatever?
movie,
Whoa.
and like the whole cape
No
and
way.
everything. I was decked out, 6-year-old.
When did capes go out? Why is
I
that
don't
not still
know.
a thing?
I don't know.
Reverse snuggie, dude. Like it could really come in handy. There's a lot
Yeah.
of good cape stuff.
I,
Like, I
yeah,
make-
I If it don't was think I'm that socially far away acceptable- from wearing a cape. Like,
I'm already wearing like Maleficent socks and crap everywhere.
Dude, if I was a woman,
not-
that would be the
I have
one red
no
flag I looked out
cares
for.
when I'm
He
going
just, let's put it this way, he's not that far away from wearing a cape.
So anyway, so sword and shield, I go to one of my neighbor's house. The mom is dressed up as Maleficent, and I ran home crying. and
Oh my
stopped
God.
trick or treating.
No way.
That is a real thing that happened to me.
This history, dude. Is
Yeah,
so
isn't
deep.
that crazy?
Yes,
Even
it
to
is.
be the mom dressed up
Watching
as
you
an amazing
ruin a child's
Maleficent,
night. Yeah.
ruining that kid, but then also being like, I can't believe the kids dress up as Prince Philip. Like it's such a weird, like to have that.
If
be
there
the
was ever a
balance.
time to be
It's like-
confident
It's
about
like Corella, and someone's like, "Oh yeah, I'm Roger." You know, it's just
But
there's
worse.
no match to that.
way worse
Yeah,
because
way
Philip
worse.
kills Maleficent. So you're like,
Yeah.
this kid should have loved this. You know?
Oh,
It's his
yeah, no.
chance.
Yeah,
Oh my God. And look at you now. Decked
yeah.
out in Malef gear.
Bottom line, big Prince Philip fan.
Yeah. He's good. Here's my question, overarching, and I don't really even have much else to say about this whole chapter. My one question to you is, do they last? Let's set the scene here. Philip is an independent guy. He's got that pick up your dad confidence. And Aurora has met one person in her whole life, has only seen a cottage in a forest. And they have this, which I will say, something I'd like to sequel is there's talk of a 40-bedroom estate that they're going to go live
Yeah.
in by King Hubert. I would die to see month 3 as like a reality show of them two in that
God, that's
huge
good.
estate. Oh my God, that would be so funny. I would love it.
And the fairies would live with them.
Oh, of course they would.
Yeah,
'cause we
they're
gotta ruin it
attached.
somehow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Do
I
they
think
last?
I think they do last.
You always think that though.
No, I
Why?
don't. No, I don't.
You
I
thought
ju-
that with the
I just
tramp
came
and
off
lady,
and the
and-
Tramp.
I'm
Okay,
kidding.
I just roasted them for that whole podcast. No,
Whatever.
this I do think, and it's not based on that much information, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think they're both pretty weird. Like I think they just they would work well. And what a great story. You know how they met and the whole thing.
Yeah.
A good
He
story
killed a
can have a
dragon
relationship
sorceress.
longer than it should.
That's true. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. I like that.
So
actually.
it
have
would be
a-
a hell of a wedding too.
Yeah, with the kind of money that those two kingdoms got. I have a Dale quote from the end of this movie that I thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
This one was actually like cerebral. I was like, yeah. He goes, nobody even knew she was asleep, and yet it's still called Sleeping Beauty. Because the whole kingdom's asleep through the entire part that she's out. And like she's known as Sleeping Beauty. No one knew besides one person who's dead and Philip. and the fairies, but they don't count. They were
All right,
high.
Dale.
Yeah.
It's not clear. It's not like in the tabloids the next day they're like Sleeping Beauty awakes. You know, like that's just that's what the story is called. But I
Sleeping
don't.
Beauty or Snoozy Floozy. One will be able to find
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
Check on Article
Was she
6.
really asleep? I heard.
Shredding her.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
The last thing I have to say about this chapter, we have to dive into like this is Maleficent at her finest.
This is Joe.
And it also
Jay's
is going to
jailbird
lead in
jitters.
exactly. Yeah,
This
yeah.
is
So
it's time.
it's going to have to tip that
The
off.
crescendo, the climax of the Malef talk.
Yeah.
Let's hear it, Jay.
I'm just
Go
gonna
ahead and
let
give us
it
your
rip.
thoughts on the villain.
So Maleficent is the best villain in Disney history. I would say an aficionado when it comes to Disney villains and always love them more than pretty much any of the heroes. She is the GOAT. She's very much like Michael Jordan in many ways. I've noticed it more and more each time I've watched it. With that bonfire scene when she's sitting back there in the throne, that's like Michael Jordan smoking a cigar, drinking champagne after NBA Finals championship. It's so there's a lot of weird similarities.
She just hit at the buzzer beater 30
Yeah.
seconds before sunrise. It is very MJ.
Yes,
Couldn't
exactly.
agree more.
She's voiced by Eleanor Audley, who is the evil stepmother from Cinderella. So that's probably why the voice sounds like how you're mentioning the Cinderella piece of it. She is just so captivating. And I think one of the best parts about her is at the end when she gives the monologue to Prince Philip.
Oh.
Like if she was going to be awarded for, or be nominated for an award, it's that scene. And that monologue, she's toying with Prince Philip. She essentially makes fun of the Disney ending as well. Like the classic, like, oh, everything, and true love conquers all that.
Good point.
How cool is it to just have a villain be like, screw that, Anyway, she
Hats
really,
off to
she
horns
really is
off
the
to
best. And if you
Maleficent.
look up most rankings, she will be number one, even 60 years later.
Wow. It's tough to refute what you've said.
Try.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you about it. That's for sure. Okay, let's move on to our favorite categories. Song, mine's the only one. Once Upon a Dream. Is yours Maleficent's? Is yours?
I
Maleficent's
also
song?
really enjoy I Wonder as well. Little shout out. You know that one.
Do I?
Aurora. I
Oh,
wonder.
okay, yeah. No, it's not my song, but I get.
But
what
no,
you're saying.
yeah, I would have to say the Maleficent theme.
Okay. We all know my favorite character is Philip. We all know your favorite character is Maleficent. We
Correct.
know my favorite scene is the forest meeting and that dialogue exchange, which my favorite quote is that exchange as well. Do you have anything different that we don't know about those?
I would say the monologue.
Yeah, it's good. It is good. It
The
is
last like
good.
10 minutes of this movie are flawless.
That
And
made
it always
me-
brings it back. There is a period of this movie where I'm like, God, do I remember it better? And it just ends so well that that's the lasting impact.
Yeah. It made me wonder, is she just doing this because it's fucked up, or is this like
yeah,
an actual
she's
goal?
psycho.
She's just twisted. Is it worth a rewatch?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I'm
If you
gonna
haven't
leave that
seen
one
it,
to
if you have kids,
you. Yeah.
it's more complicated.
one for
I mean,
you,
I
yeah.
live to tell the tale.
But look how you turned out.
Yeah, I would say don't let the kid don't let them go through this.
Yeah, I think
You don't want a kid looking at fireplaces a little differently for the rest of
Oh,
his
for
life.
sure. You don't want.
I
a
would
kid
wait
who's-
until like 12. Don't
Yeah.
do it at 6.
Otherwise, you'll have a kid that's not that far off from capes, and that's I'm gonna say it's,
Hey, Maleficent, huh? You and me both, brother.
I'm gonna say it's worth a watch. Also, imagine, speaking of capes, imagine being the village tailor for Maleficent's wardrobe. Like, you've got that contract, and like you're not proud of it. It's like whoever made. I'm not going to go there, but it's
Yeah, we've avoided some major
yeah.
things in this episode.
I'm just saying, like, you'd be like, people are like, he makes the robe, the big flowy robe.
Yeah,
Because it's not
Yeah,
like for
exactly.
16 years she's got one pair of clothes. She's a
Yeah.
dashing woman. Like she's got someone who's making stuff for her. Just imagine, just be like, you have no idea how much she pays. Like I have to feed my family.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, I saw you got a huge stock of purple garb recently, Jeremy. What the hell? You know she's trying to kill our princess.
I would
I
say
was there. I saw her.
I had courtroom seats. I had cradle
Framed
view.
on my wall.
Cradle view.
I would say don't show your kid. I mean, show them like more younger than 12, but not. I'd say 8 is about where I'd do it.
8. I was
I don't
basically 8, man. You,
know
wanted
what?
12
I'd
at
say
least.
bring them out like 6 and just see how it goes. And
You're looking at it.
yeah, I think
There's
you're
no
great,
wonder.
Jay. I think you're great. I want to see you in a cape next episode.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our playground pick'em. For this one, do you want me to explain it or do you want to explain it, Jay?
You explain it.
Ugh, I knew that was coming. Here's what we're gonna do. We're interior decorating either our home or each other's home, and we have to pick someone to do it. And Jay, because this is your movie and because I'm the guy I am, I'm gonna give you first pick. Who
Wow.
do you want to design or decorate your home if you had your choice?
I know it's not based on any evidence, but I would still pick Maleficent. You can't design that costume
Oh,
without having
some
some
vision.
skills there.
some
Like, I
vision.
don't know why, if it's an intimidation thing, that she's done nothing with the castle, no resale value on the Forbidden Mountain. But don't you
A
think
lot of
she-
write-offs though.
Dude,
A lot
she
of
would-
write-offs.
You know, like Glenn Close when she plays Corella in the 101 Dalmatians?
I do.
I feel like she has a bit of that vibe in real life. I think she would
maybe.
be like a good designer.
I could see, but it'd be so haunting and dark, and like it'd be.
Well, you
black and
gotta
purple.
work with her.
You're not
Yeah,
working
I mean,
with
yeah,
Maleficent.
yes, you gotta.
Yeah, you're
I'm
gonna
the-
just
I'm
throw her a
Fauna.
couple tips. You're gonna throw her a couple tips. and be like,
Yeah,
hey,
just-
Malef, how
I'm
about this?
not, I don't mind a little green and perps. Just
Dude, this would
all
be
through the
your
rooms.
actual house of nightmares. She would just make it how she likes stuff, and every fireplace is a green fire.
Yeah.
You've
yeah.
had like a doorbell that's.
Yeah.
It would be a nightmare. Quite.
I would
literal.
make her sign the contract. Like,
Dude, yeah,
listen,
she can't
listen
get out
up,
of a
Buttercup. All
contract.
right,
Yeah,
we're not doing
for
any
sure.
of this.
I'm going.
No, I'm already regretting my choice.
Yeah,
so
that I mean,
think
I love your,
I'm,
I love
I'm in
your
a hole.
candor. I love it, but at the same time,
Yeah, I just
not
picked
getting out of that
Marcus
place
Russell.
alive.
Keep going.
I'm going. Oh man, huge fan of the show. Actually, thanks, Jamarcus. I'm gonna say the King, dude, the King Hubert, who's making these honeymoon cottages of 40 bedrooms, something light, no big deal. I'm just gonna see what old mate has because he's got a team. He's got
He has a
unlimited
blueprint
funds.
more
Yeah.
than anyone else.
Dude, he's the guy.
That's a good point.
He's an idiot and he's really off the hip. We didn't talk about them much. I wouldn't want to get in his way, but if he just had someone build my house, that's going to be the kind of house I talk about. Like, yeah, he doesn't even remember it, but he built it and it is spectacular. And I think that'd be the greatest.
Mm.
Who would you least like to have build your house?
I would go Fauna, the
Which
green
one's
fairy.
that? The green?
Green fairy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
she's
just
tough. That
she-
thing's
yeah,
falling down
she would
very
be-
quickly.
just the way she puts the candles back on the cake, as enjoyable as it is,
Yeah,
I just
with the
don't
broom.
want that in my house.
Yeah.
So,
That's literally probably the worst. Meriwether's actually, of the 3 fairies, she's probably building the best or decorating the best house. She's actually like, she
I
knows
think
what
so.
a tablespoon or teaspoon is. She's got some sense that the other 2 don't.
yeah. And
Which-
Flora wouldn't listen to you. You
Oh,
know,
no.
you gotta collaborate.
No shot. Yeah, I think of the 2 of us, that Malef pick is a spinning top of danger.
Oh no, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And Fauna and Maleficent, I would pay to have a conversation between the 2
I
of
guess
them.
I do have a father-son combo, which means Hubert would take over for Philip if they were a team.
Yeah,
I'd be
they
fine with that.
that could be a good business for
Actually,
them.
not a good. That's not a bad business.
Yeah.
Okay, let's toast this movie, Jay. I'm sure you got something to say.
Yeah, I do.
You want to go first or second?
I'm just gonna say to the movie that did motion art. Very simple.
Mm,
Thank
that
you.
is very simple. Yeah, that is nice. I'm saying to the movie that emotionally crippled my friend Jay, to Aurora getting the hell out of that cabin, and after a great episode from me and Jay here, for the first time in 16 years, I shall sleep well.
Oh God, awesome, awesome. And that is the quote for me.
No, of course. That wraps us up. That was 3 hours of straight Maleficent talk here on Maleficent Radio. What do we got next up, Jay?
101Ds.
Oh, yeah. Just shifting gears from fourth gear down to first gear in quality style.
I'm so excited. This
But
is like potentially like the best back-to-back.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Thank you so much for listening. There's no shot you've made it this far, but if you're not young Leonardo DiCaprio or my mother. So love you guys both, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks. I'm not saying best villain. I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm saying the performance that Cruella puts on there, I was blown away. Maleficent is a great villain. I thought that the voice was fine.
Oh, fine. I'm leaving. I'm out. I can't deal with
Just
this. I
throws
mean,
it
come on.
down.